If this herd makes it through the night, what's at risk isn't just a few crop rows or a small corner of a field. It could mean an entire year of labor wiped out in just a few short hours. In many rural areas of the United States, this is no longer a hypothetical. It's a reality that has repeated itself far too many times. When night falls, fields that seem peaceful by day become silent targets for roaming groups of wild boars. And before the sun even rises, dozens of hectares can be torn apart, as if an invisible storm had just swept through. What makes the situation dangerous isn't just the numbers, it's the speed. With wild boars, everything happens faster than humans can react. Once they've chosen a target, the window to intervene is almost non-existent. Statistics from southern states show that even a group of 15 to 20 can destroy over a hectare of crops in just a few hours overnight. But what's even more alarming is that they don't move randomly. Wild boars remember routes, recognize their surroundings, and learn from every encounter. Just one or two encounters with traps can cause an entire group to completely alter its path. The footprints appearing along the edge of the field tonight are no longer on the old route. They've shifted slightly, a small detail, but enough to suggest the herd is testing a new approach. And in wildlife control, missing this moment means losing the opportunity altogether. Sometimes, just one night of delay can lead to an entire season's failure.
Get a pole, boys.
There is no advanced technology here. No sensors. No remote controls. Just familiar farm materials. Things that have been used and refined through years of experience. Yet that simplicity becomes the advantage. Every trap placement is calculated based on the natural behavior of wild boars, guiding them through habit rather than forcing change. The bait is used sparingly, never too much, never enough to create suspicion. Because wild boars are extremely sensitive. A single unfamiliar scent, the slightest irregular detail, can make the entire group stop and retreat instantly. The goal isn't to lure them into a trap in an obvious way. The goal is to make them believe nothing has changed, that their familiar path is still as safe as ever. And as they keep moving forward, they unknowingly enter a space that has already been brought under control. Fast deployment does not mean rushing. It is the result of eliminating every unnecessary step through accumulated experience.
Put this bottom, yep, like that.
Everything must be completed before the herd arrives. When that moment comes, all adjustments must stop. There is no second attempt. No room for error. What has been set in place must be trusted completely. In the darkness, an unexpected sound breaks the silence earlier than anticipated. That is often when the herd begins to probe. They move closer, pause, listen, then decide whether to go further. This is the most fragile moment. The herd keeps moving. They pass through each control point without suspicion. No panic, no signs of alarm. And within a short span of time, everything unfolds exactly as planned. When the trapdoor finally closes, the number inside is almost unbelievable. A sight that is both surprising and a stark reminder of the true scale of the problem. Wild boars reproduce at an astonishing rate. A single female can give birth to 2 litters per year, each with 4 to 6 piglets. Without continuous control, the results of one night can become meaningless within just a few months. That's why what is achieved today is not just the protection of a single field. It is time, precious time, regained for farmers, for communities, and for the balance of the ecosystem. In the end, effectiveness does not come from complex devices or advanced technology. It comes from understanding animal behavior, making the right decisions at the right moment, and maintaining patience when it matters most. In this silent confrontation, victory does not come from strength, but from precision, experience, and a long-term responsibility to the land being protected.
On the rugged mountain ranges of Montana, where dense forests blend with highland grasslands and winding river valleys, wild bears roam freely through a vast and majestic landscape. While they symbolize the strength and freedom of this land, their growing numbers also bring increasing concerns. Bears often break into farms, destroy livestock feed, and rummage through waste, causing significant property damage each year and sometimes creating dangerous situations for both humans and animals. Wild bears are among the most iconic and formidable animals in North America, and Montana is one of their ideal habitats. Among dense pine forests, towering Rocky Mountains, and wide river valleys, two main species dominate: black bears and the larger, more powerful grizzly bears. As omnivores, they feed on everything from berries, roots, fish, and insects to larger prey. Thanks to vast wilderness areas like Glacier National Park and the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, bear populations in Montana continue to thrive, making this region both a paradise for nature lovers and a harsh test for those living on the edge between wilderness and human settlements. In areas where bears repeatedly return near farms and residential zones, control can no longer rely on random reactions or temporary measures. Instead, carefully planned trapping systems must be deployed, tailored to the movement patterns and level of caution of each individual animal. One commonly used method is large steel cage traps, placed precisely at locations the bear has approached multiple times over consecutive nights. The goal is not only to contain the bear, but also to ensure the entire control process remains stable and minimizes risks for both humans and the animal. The effectiveness of this system does not lie in its size, but in how accurately it is positioned along the bear's familiar travel routes. Before deployment, days of monitoring are required to determine exactly where the animal passes, where it lingers, and how it approaches food sources. Footprints in soft soil, claw marks on tree trunks, overturned trash, and repeatedly used paths all serve as key indicators for placement. Only when these signs are clear is bait placed deep inside, forcing the bear to fully enter the controlled zone. However, not every individual reacts in predictable ways. Bears that have previously encountered humans or escaped control efforts tend to become highly cautious. In such cases, cage traps are no longer ideal, and teams must switch to a more discreet method: foothold snare traps placed directly along established travel paths. The entire mechanism is carefully concealed beneath soil, leaf litter, and surrounding natural elements to avoid creating anything unusual. When the bear steps into position, the cable loop tightens almost instantly and is anchored to a secure point strong enough to prevent the animal from moving far. Under Montana's harsh conditions, controlling a bear is never a matter of chance, but the result of observation, patience, and field experience. Bear hunting requires meticulous planning, specialized equipment, and absolute respect for the animal. Hunting seasons typically occur in spring and fall, depending on the region and species. While some areas allow baiting, this practice is completely prohibited in Montana for ethical and ecological reasons. As a result, participants must rely on natural terrain and a deep understanding of bear behavior. If you were living in Montana and faced the challenge of dealing with one of North America's most formidable predators, would you choose to observe, control, or confront it directly? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more journeys into wildlife control, survival, and life at the edge of the wild.
Bears rarely announce their presence with loud noises in the middle of the night. Instead, they approach quietly, often leaving almost no obvious signs at first. Large footprints pressed deeply into the damp soil behind the house, a slightly shifted trash can lid, or long claw marks on a storage shed door are usually the earliest indicators. Farm owners may notice these signs but often choose to ignore them, assuming it was just a one-time visit.
小鹿を捕まえたのはハッチは
This underestimation allows the early warnings to go unaddressed, making it easier for the situation to repeat itself over multiple nights without any real sense of caution or preparedness. Bears do not move randomly as many people might assume. Once they discover a reliable and easily accessible food source, they are capable of remembering its location with remarkable accuracy. Their strong sense of smell allows them to detect food such as grains, honey, or animal feed from a considerable distance. If their first visit is successful, returning becomes almost inevitable. At first, it may only be a single bear, but over time the frequency of visits increases. These repeated visits gradually form a clear and structured behavioral pattern that becomes more consistent and predictable with each passing night. As the signs begin to appear more frequently, traditional deterrent methods often lose their effectiveness. At this stage, the use of traps may be considered as a necessary control measure. The goal is not to confront the animal directly, but to disrupt the established pattern of return behavior. When food is no longer easily accessible, bears are forced to change their movement patterns. This helps reduce their presence in the area and prevents the behavior from developing into a long-term habit that becomes much more difficult to control, especially in areas close to human settlements. Over time, the repeated return behavior becomes a well-established habit. Bears begin to move along fixed routes, remembering not only the location but also the timing of food availability. They do not need to cause significant damage initially to achieve their goal. Even a small vulnerability in the environment is enough for them to gain access. If they encounter no resistance, this behavior continues to repeat and becomes increasingly stable. This progression makes control more challenging if not addressed early and with the appropriate approach. As the frequency of visits increases, the level of risk also becomes more apparent. The range of bear activity expands, gradually moving closer to areas where people live and work. They begin to appear more often at night, searching for food near residential spaces. Under motion sensor lights, bears move cautiously but show less hesitation than before. As wild animals become more accustomed to human presence, the likelihood of direct encounters rises significantly. This creates situations that are unpredictable and potentially dangerous over time. In response to this situation, observation and trap placement must be carried out in a calculated and strategic manner. Farmers monitor the timing of bear appearances, their habitual travel routes, and the locations where they tend to linger the longest. Footprints, claw marks on trees, and images captured by night surveillance cameras provide valuable data. Once the behavior is clearly understood, trap placement can be determined with precision. The trap enclosure is secured firmly and designed to appear natural, allowing the bear to enter without suspicion. Bait is placed deep inside to ensure the bear fully enters before the mechanism is activated. Controlling bears is not about confrontation, but about adjusting the environment in a balanced and sustainable way. When easily accessible food sources are removed, the return behavior gradually decreases over time. Maintaining a safe distance between humans and wildlife is essential to minimizing risk. Combining multiple control strategies often produces more stable and effective results than relying on a single solution. With consistent monitoring and proper adjustments, long-term balance can be achieved, reducing damage while preserving safety for both people and wildlife.
In Alberta, once thriving cornfields have been heavily devastated, with more than 500 acres of corn severely damaged. The sight of bears appearing before harvest season is becoming increasingly common. Deep claw marks from black bears scar tree trunks, while entire rows of corn are flattened overnight. Their incursions are so calculated that from the center of the field to its outer edges, detecting and stopping them has become nearly impossible. Not only do they destroy crops, but these bears are also becoming increasingly bold. They enter residential areas, rummage through trash bins, and even appear right at people's doorsteps, leaving residents constantly on edge and anxious. Here, farmers and wildlife control teams are struggling to reduce the pressure from the growing bear population, animals that are causing serious economic damage. Every year, hundreds of beehives are destroyed, crops are lost, and daily life is disrupted. The damage goes beyond numbers, spreading into prolonged psychological stress as residents no longer feel safe on their own land. The Alberta government has been forced to implement structured control measures, aiming to significantly reduce bear density in the area while still maintaining ecological balance. In response, control methods have gradually shifted from direct confrontation to carefully planned trapping strategies. Instead of risky close encounters, people began leveraging the bear's natural foraging behavior to lure them into preset trapping systems. To prepare an effective trap site, bait remains the key factor. A mixture of honey, grains, and fermented fruit is widely used. A sweet yet pungent scent that can travel through the air and attract bears from long distances. This mixture is placed inside culvert-style traps, solid cylindrical or metal frame structures, carefully camouflaged within the surrounding vegetation. From the bear's perspective, it is not a trap at all, but simply a familiar path leading straight to food, until the door quietly closes behind it. When the bear enters to reach the bait, the drop door mechanism is triggered, shutting behind it and containing the animal without causing immediate panic. This design takes advantage of the bear's curiosity and tendency to move forward, increasing capture success rates while ensuring operator safety. However, not every situation is suitable for culvert traps. In dense forests or more complex terrain, snare traps are deployed as a more flexible solution. Strong cable loops are set along the trails that bears frequently use, those invisible paths formed through repeated movement. These locations are identified through footprints, claw marks on trees, disturbed ground, and lingering scent. When a bear passes through, the snare tightens in a controlled manner, holding the animal in place. The anchoring system is designed to minimize injury while preventing the bear from moving too far. Whether using culvert traps or snares, the deciding factor lies in correctly reading bear behavior. These animals are highly intelligent and extremely cautious. They can detect unfamiliar scents from hundreds of meters away, and even the smallest anomaly can cause them to avoid an entire area for days. That's why trapping is not just about technique. It is a combination of observation, patience, and a deep understanding of their movement patterns. A single mistake can render the entire setup ineffective, and the bear may never return. In many cases, successful control does not come from speed, but from precise preparation. When traps are placed in the right location at the right time and aligned with the behavior of the bear population, the result is not just the capture of a single animal, it is the long-term reduction of pressure across the entire area. If you find this control journey fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to explore more thrilling and unexpected wildlife stories.
No one expected a scene like this to unfold in the middle of a city. A wild boar charged straight through a glass door, the crash echoing across a residential area. Just hours later, another group appeared on the beach, running along the shoreline under bright lights and rising panic. Cameras captured them crossing roads, overturning trash bins, slipping into neighborhoods as if this place had always belonged to them. No distance left. No boundaries anymore. As the damage spread, control teams were forced to step in. In Texas, this had become a familiar scenario. Helicopters circled overhead, scanning forests and open fields, revealing the herd's movement routes. Overlapping tracks formed repeating paths, almost following a fixed rhythm each night. From above, these invisible roads began to emerge, and from them, a strategy took shape.
Check.
Instead of acting immediately, the team chose to observe. Infrared cameras were installed along key movement corridors. Each night, data was recorded with precision. The timing of the herd's arrival, how they approached food sources, and how they reacted to even the smallest environmental changes. Nothing was rushed. Every step depended on understanding behavior before intervention. When all conditions were met, the first trap was deployed. It was a smart enclosure system, blending seamlessly into the environment, with no noise or unusual signs. Bait was placed inside. On the monitor, each animal appeared, stepping in cautiously before gradually lowering its guard. When most of the herd had entered, a command was sent. The steel gate slammed shut in an instant, silently holding nearly the entire group. But not all were captured. A few individuals remained outside, retreating just in time. They watched from a distance, learned quickly, and disappeared. These few changed everything. After just one encounter, the herd's behavior began to shift. Closed structures were avoided. Even the smallest irregularities were detected. Their caution intensified, making initial methods less effective over time. Faced with this, the strategy had to evolve. Instead of small traps, the team built a large circular enclosure in an open area. No roof, no sense of confinement. Wide entry points made the structure resemble a natural feeding ground. At first, the boars lingered at the edges, but with no sign of danger, they moved deeper, more freely, gradually forming a habit of returning. The acclimation process lasted for days. No sudden interference, no signals that could trigger panic. Only when the entire herd was fully inside did the decisive moment arrive. Two large gates dropped simultaneously from opposite sides, cutting off every escape. The impact echoed as the herd surged against the barrier, but the circular design absorbed the force effectively, leaving no weak points.
Too terrible.
The final operation was carried out near a dry zone by the lakeshore, identified as a critical movement route. An even larger trap was constructed, with every parameter carefully calculated in advance. One by one, the animals entered cautiously, unaware that the entire space was already under control. And when the final gate closed, it was over. No more nights of torn ground. No more herds returning to disrupt the fragile calm. The next morning, transport began. Teams used mobile fencing combined with gentle sound cues to guide the animals in a controlled manner. No rush, no panic. Each group was loaded and transferred to designated management areas, becoming part of a long-term, sustainable control strategy. In the end, this was never a battle of strength. It was a battle of understanding.
Oh, he's a big one. Pull, Lily. He's right there. All right.
Every trap works only when it reflects how the animal thinks and reacts. And only when humans adapt faster can we truly protect crops, water sources, and the delicate balance of nature. If you want to explore more real-world control strategies like this, follow the channel and share your thoughts.
Across the vast fields of southern Texas, where patches of torn-up soil stretch like scars across the land night after night, wild boars no longer appear as a random occurrence. They have become an organized pressure. At first, the damage was limited to a few corners of farmland, but within just a few days, entire areas could be torn apart as if an invisible storm had swept through. The real issue does not lie in the destructive power of individual animals, but in how the entire herd moves along fixed routes, repeating almost exactly each night. And once that pattern is established, trapping is no longer an experiment. It becomes a strategy that demands precision down to the smallest detail. In the early stage, small cage traps were deployed with a simple goal: to capture individual animals quickly. But reality unfolded in the exact opposite direction. Each time one boar was caught, the rest of the herd did not return as expected, but instead showed clear behavioral changes. They approached more slowly, paused longer at safe distances, and even retreated entirely if they detected any unusual signs. This made small traps not only ineffective, but they also unintentionally trained the herd to become more cautious. Each failure was not just a missed opportunity. It became a lesson remembered by the entire group. From that point, a completely different approach began to take shape. Instead of targeting individuals, the focus shifted to controlling the entire herd in a single attempt. Large-scale trapping systems started to appear, no longer resembling a trap, but more like an open space that did not create a sense of confinement. Steel posts were arranged in wide circular formations, but not too densely to avoid raising suspicion. There were no doors slamming shut immediately, no obvious mechanical movements.
A little used frying oil on there.
Everything was designed to blend into the natural environment, as if it were just a normal part of the landscape. The first phase was not about capturing, but about familiarization. Bait was placed outside at first, then gradually moved deeper into the trapping area. For many consecutive days, no action was taken.
On there in my corn pile.
The herd began to approach, initially as individuals, then in small groups. They stepped in and out, observed, and returned again. Over time, the boundary between outside and inside gradually disappeared. Once most of the herd became comfortable moving in and out of the area without encountering danger, the trap finally entered its operational phase. The most critical moment does not lie in the activation, but in the timing of the wait. The operator must monitor through cameras, patiently waiting until the entire herd has entered, with no individuals left lingering at the edges. Only then is the system activated remotely. A large gate drops in an instant, sealing off the entire space. There is no second chance. If triggered too early, the remaining animals will learn and disappear. If too late, the herd may retreat. Here, precision is not measured in seconds, but in the depth of behavioral understanding. The entire process requires time and near absolute patience. For many days, even weeks, there is no direct human interference. Distance is maintained. All signs of intervention are eliminated. The herd gradually returns to its normal habits, but within a space that has already been controlled. And when the right moment arrives, the system is activated one final time, precise, decisive, leaving no gaps. The final result is not just the number of boars captured, but the disruption of the herd's entire movement cycle. Once that structure is broken, familiar routes are no longer used, and the pressure on farmland decreases significantly. This shows that the true effectiveness of the system does not lie in the mechanics of opening and closing, but in its ability to control behavior on a large scale. The conflict between humans and wild boars has never been a contest of strength. It is a competition of adaptability. With each failure, the boars become more cunning. And with each adjustment, humans must become more precise. In an environment where every detail can be detected, a single small mistake can cause the entire strategy to collapse before it even takes effect. As dusk slowly settles over the dense forests of North America, the environment begins to shift in a way that is almost imperceptible. During the day, everything appears calm: dirt roads, wooden fences, trash bins placed in front of porches. But as night falls, the boundary between humans and nature becomes more fragile than ever. And in that very moment, a familiar visitor quietly emerges, the black bear. In many states such as Florida, Michigan, or even some suburban areas of Canada, the presence of bears is no longer a rare occurrence. At first, the signs are subtle. An overturned trash can, a few claw marks on tree trunks, or faint footprints pressed into damp soil. But over time, these signs begin to form a repeating pattern. Bears are not wandering aimlessly. They return to the same location at the same time, as if they remember everything. What makes the situation more complex is not the size or strength of these animals, but their memory and adaptability. Once a food source is identified, a bear will not easily give it up. Trash bins, livestock feed storage, or even fruit gardens, all can become familiar stops in their nightly routes. The The process of control does not begin with traps. It begins with observation. Over consecutive days, residents and wildlife management teams use infrared cameras to monitor activity. They do not just capture images of the bears, but analyze every small detail, their direction of movement, the timing of their appearances, and how they approach the area. This data gradually reveals something important. Bears do not move randomly. They follow familiar paths, avoid unusual changes, and are especially cautious of any sudden unfamiliar objects. That is why traps cannot be set hastily. Unlike conventional cage traps, bear control methods require far greater precision. Steel foothold traps, specially designed, are not placed in obvious locations. They are carefully concealed beneath dry leaves and soft soil, blending completely into the surrounding environment. Every small detail must be calculated: depth, placement, and even wind direction. Scent plays an equally critical role. Bears have an extremely sensitive sense of smell. Even the faintest trace of human scent can cause them to alter their route. Therefore, every action must be carried out with care, from wearing gloves, minimizing artificial odors, to selecting the right type of bait. Food is not placed directly on the trap, but positioned at a calculated distance, forcing the animal to step through the prepared zone. But the most crucial factor is not the trap, it is the timing. If triggered too early, the bear may escape and become even more cautious in future encounters.
Oh yeah? Up all the way up on that fucking thing.
If too late, the opportunity may disappear entirely.
I see you.
That is why many modern systems use remote monitoring mechanisms, allowing operators to observe and make precise decisions at the exact moment. Once the trap is activated, everything proceeds quickly but under control. The bear is handled according to strict procedures to ensure safety for both humans and the animal. There is no chaos, no rushed actions. Every step is carried out with a clear objective, minimizing conflict while maintaining natural balance. But one thing cannot be denied. If the environment remains attractive, if food is still easily accessible, the cycle will continue. Areas that have been previously visited are often improved afterward. Trash bins are reinforced, food sources are secured, and living spaces are adjusted to reduce the chances of attracting bears again. This is not an immediate solution, but a long-term strategy that requires patience and a deep understanding of animal behavior. Because in the end, this is not just a story about setting traps. It is a story about how humans learn to adapt to nature, not through strength, but through observation, calculation, and respect for the rules that existed long before we did.
Recently, the fields have no longer been able to hold on to their once peaceful state. During the day, everything still appears lush and orderly, but after just one night, the entire scene is turned upside down. The soil is torn apart, plants are broken, and overlapping tracks cut across the garden like invisible paths in a coordinated manner. There are not many options left. The farmers are forced to act, not to hunt, but to protect their crops and livelihoods. Traps were set the night before, placed precisely along the familiar routes the boars frequently use. Bait is scattered in segments, naturally guiding their behavior. At first light, the top priority is to return and inspect the entire system. The first cage sits at the edge of the field. Inside is a small group. Immediately, one detail becomes clear. Their coats are not uniform. Some are jet black, others dark brown, and a few even have stripes. This is no coincidence. It suggests that multiple groups have merged, a sign that the herd is expanding and rapidly adapting to the environment. In just a few weeks, this area could become their regular feeding ground. Inside the cage, the boars crowd together, panting, trying to break free. At another trap, the reaction is completely different. Some repeatedly slam into the steel frame, producing sharp, jarring sounds. Others move more slowly, using their snouts to probe each metal bar, patiently searching for even the smallest gap. This is something many people tend to overlook. Not every animal reacts the same way. When confined in a limited space, survival instincts manifest in different forms. In another corner, the smaller trap has also proven effective. Inside is an adult along with several young ones. The tight space prevents them from accelerating or coordinating as they would in the wild. And that is precisely the advantage of the trap. A large system is not always necessary. With the right placement at the right time, even the strongest individuals can be controlled. The results from the previous night make that clear. Effective traps are not a matter of luck, but the result of careful observation, calculation, and precise placement along the herd's movement routes. But it does not stop there. The traps remain in place, and the bait continues to be replenished. The next night will be another test. And then, slam! A trap snaps shut. Inside, a wild boar thrashes violently. This is a sign that the herd's vigilance is beginning to decline. Not long after, at another location, a large individual appears. It moves slowly, far more cautious than the others before it. It stops, observes, steps back, then moves forward again along the bait trail. Every step is calculated, but it only takes a moment. Slam! The second trap closes. Inside is a scene of chaos. Based on its size and behavior, this could be a dominant individual, experienced and responsible for much of the damage in the area. Elsewhere, two individuals are trapped at the same time. They panic, repeatedly crashing into the steel frame. But outside, a few others have sensed something is wrong. They pause, hesitate for a split second, then turn and disappear into the deep forest. The noise gradually fades, leaving the traps still trembling in the air. And that is the reality that must be accepted. No system is perfectly effective. The goal is not to capture them all, but to reduce the herd and limit the damage to the crops. The next morning, everyone returns to check. Some individuals are still inside the cages. One repeatedly leaps upward, using its full weight to try to break through the top, but to no avail. The next steps are carried out quickly. The cages are secured, and all captured boars are transported away from the farming area, preventing any chance of their return in the following nights. Everything is carried out according to proper procedures and regulations. The final stage is handled in a controlled manner, in compliance with relevant guidelines. No prolonging, no spectacle. This is not hunting. This is how farmers protect what they have built. And the question remains, when the damage continues to grow, what other choice do they really have?
No longer scattered signs. The change becomes clear every morning. The fields in Texas remain green during the day, but after just one night, everything is turned upside down. The soil is torn apart, crops are uprooted, and tracks stretch into clear pathways. This is not a few individuals, but an organized herd of wild boars. As the damage repeats, farmers are forced to shift from passive defense to active control to protect their crops. This process does not begin with traps, but with reading the signs. Repeated paths, compacted ground, and damaged areas are carefully recorded. Infrared cameras are installed along these routes, capturing the time the herd appears almost every night. From this, a strategy is built. Bait is placed according to their movement patterns, creating a sense of familiarity. Once the pattern is clear, setting traps becomes a calculated step. Instead of small traps, many areas deploy large circular net traps from the start. A steel post structure forms a wide enclosure capable of holding the entire herd. At first, the net is kept raised, allowing free entry and exit for several days. Bait is placed at the center, and cameras monitor the numbers each night. Once the herd becomes accustomed to gathering in one spot, the system is triggered, dropping the net in a single motion to capture them all. The initial results show clear effectiveness. No longer just a few animals, but dozens can be captured in one operation. Once trapped, they react strongly, pushing against each other and creating intense pressure in a confined space. This is pure survival instinct when cornered. That is why the net and anchoring system must be flexible enough to absorb the force without breaking. After the large trap phase, smaller cage traps begin to play their role. The remaining individuals become more cautious and avoid affected areas. At this point, small traps are placed in narrow paths or near fences, places they are forced to pass through. The limited space restricts movement and reduces escape chances. This is not the main solution, but a critical follow-up step. Even with a coordinated strategy, there's always a rate of escape. Some animals outside the trap zone may detect changes and retreat in time. That is why control cannot be completed in a single night. The system must be maintained, adding bait, adjusting positions, and continuing to monitor behavior. The goal is not to capture everything immediately, but to gradually reduce the herd size over time. The pressure does not stop at the fields. As natural food sources decline, wild boars move closer to residential areas. They rummage through storage, damage equipment, and even appear near homes. As the boundary between humans and wildlife shrinks, the level of risk rises significantly. Behaviors once limited to the wild now occur in living spaces, forcing people to adapt quickly. In many parts of Texas, control has advanced to a new level with the help of technology. Remote cameras, motion sensors, and automated trigger systems reduce reliance on human presence. Every decision, from when to close the trap to where to place bait, is based on real data rather than guesswork. This not only improves efficiency, but also reduces risk when dealing directly with the herd. In some cases, aerial observation by helicopter becomes a key factor. From above, movement routes become much clearer, paths cutting across fields and familiar stopping points. This data helps determine exactly where to place traps and how to prevent the herd from dispersing. When aerial monitoring is combined with ground systems, the entire area can be controlled more effectively. In the end, controlling wild boars is not a one-time action, but a long-term process. Success is not measured by how many are captured, but by how much damage is reduced and whether the herd is prevented from returning. When people understand behavior, use the right tools, and maintain the strategy with patience, balance with nature can be restored. If you find this useful, share your thoughts and follow the channel to explore more effective methods.
If this herd makes it through the night, what's at risk isn't just a few crop rows or a small corner of a field. It could mean an entire year of labor wiped out in just a few short hours. In many rural areas of the United States, this is no longer a hypothetical. It's a reality that has repeated itself far too many times. When night falls, fields that seem peaceful by day become silent targets for roaming groups of wild boars. And before the sun even rises, dozens of hectares can be torn apart, as if an invisible storm had just swept through. What makes the situation dangerous isn't just the numbers, it's the speed. With wild boars, everything happens faster than humans can react. Once they've chosen a target, the window to intervene is almost non-existent. Statistics from southern states show that even a group of 15 to 20 can destroy over a hectare of crops in just a few hours overnight. But what's even more alarming is that they don't move randomly. Wild boars remember routes, recognize their surroundings, and learn from every encounter. Just one or two encounters with traps can cause an entire group to completely alter its path. The footprints appearing along the edge of the field tonight are no longer on the old route. They've shifted slightly, a small detail, but enough to suggest the herd is testing a new approach. And in wildlife control, missing this moment means losing the opportunity altogether. Sometimes, just one night of delay can lead to an entire season's failure.
Get a pole, boys.
There is no advanced technology here. No sensors. No remote controls. Just familiar farm materials. Things that have been used and refined through years of experience. Yet that simplicity becomes the advantage. Every trap placement is calculated based on the natural behavior of wild boars, guiding them through habit rather than forcing change. The bait is used sparingly, never too much, never enough to create suspicion. Because wild boars are extremely sensitive. A single unfamiliar scent, the slightest irregular detail, can make the entire group stop and retreat instantly. The goal isn't to lure them into a trap in an obvious way. The goal is to make them believe nothing has changed, that their familiar path is still as safe as ever. And as they keep moving forward, they unknowingly enter a space that has already been brought under control. Fast deployment does not mean rushing. It is the result of eliminating every unnecessary step through accumulated experience.
Put this bottom, yep, like that.
Everything must be completed before the herd arrives. When that moment comes, all adjustments must stop. There is no second attempt. No room for error. What has been set in place must be trusted completely. In the darkness, an unexpected sound breaks the silence earlier than anticipated. That is often when the herd begins to probe. They move closer, pause, listen, then decide whether to go further. This is the most fragile moment. The herd keeps moving. They pass through each control point without suspicion. No panic, no signs of alarm. And within a short span of time, everything unfolds exactly as planned. When the trapdoor finally closes, the number inside is almost unbelievable. A sight that is both surprising and a stark reminder of the true scale of the problem. Wild boars reproduce at an astonishing rate. A single female can give birth to 2 litters per year, each with 4 to 6 piglets. Without continuous control, the results of one night can become meaningless within just a few months. That's why what is achieved today is not just the protection of a single field. It is time, precious time, regained for farmers, for communities, and for the balance of the ecosystem. In the end, effectiveness does not come from complex devices or advanced technology. It comes from understanding animal behavior, making the right decisions at the right moment, and maintaining patience when it matters most. In this silent confrontation, victory does not come from strength, but from precision, experience, and a long-term responsibility to the land being protected.
On the rugged mountain ranges of Montana, where dense forests blend with highland grasslands and winding river valleys, wild bears roam freely through a vast and majestic landscape. While they symbolize the strength and freedom of this land, their growing numbers also bring increasing concerns. Bears often break into farms, destroy livestock feed, and rummage through waste, causing significant property damage each year and sometimes creating dangerous situations for both humans and animals. Wild bears are among the most iconic and formidable animals in North America, and Montana is one of their ideal habitats. Among dense pine forests, towering Rocky Mountains, and wide river valleys, two main species dominate: black bears and the larger, more powerful grizzly bears. As omnivores, they feed on everything from berries, roots, fish, and insects to larger prey. Thanks to vast wilderness areas like Glacier National Park and the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, bear populations in Montana continue to thrive, making this region both a paradise for nature lovers and a harsh test for those living on the edge between wilderness and human settlements. In areas where bears repeatedly return near farms and residential zones, control can no longer rely on random reactions or temporary measures. Instead, carefully planned trapping systems must be deployed, tailored to the movement patterns and level of caution of each individual animal. One commonly used method is large steel cage traps, placed precisely at locations the bear has approached multiple times over consecutive nights. The goal is not only to contain the bear, but also to ensure the entire control process remains stable and minimizes risks for both humans and the animal. The effectiveness of this system does not lie in its size, but in how accurately it is positioned along the bear's familiar travel routes. Before deployment, days of monitoring are required to determine exactly where the animal passes, where it lingers, and how it approaches food sources. Footprints in soft soil, claw marks on tree trunks, overturned trash, and repeatedly used paths all serve as key indicators for placement. Only when these signs are clear is bait placed deep inside, forcing the bear to fully enter the controlled zone. However, not every individual reacts in predictable ways. Bears that have previously encountered humans or escaped control efforts tend to become highly cautious. In such cases, cage traps are no longer ideal, and teams must switch to a more discreet method: foothold snare traps placed directly along established travel paths. The entire mechanism is carefully concealed beneath soil, leaf litter, and surrounding natural elements to avoid creating anything unusual. When the bear steps into position, the cable loop tightens almost instantly and is anchored to a secure point strong enough to prevent the animal from moving far. Under Montana's harsh conditions, controlling a bear is never a matter of chance, but the result of observation, patience, and field experience. Bear hunting requires meticulous planning, specialized equipment, and absolute respect for the animal. Hunting seasons typically occur in spring and fall, depending on the region and species. While some areas allow baiting, this practice is completely prohibited in Montana for ethical and ecological reasons. As a result, participants must rely on natural terrain and a deep understanding of bear behavior. If you were living in Montana and faced the challenge of dealing with one of North America's most formidable predators, would you choose to observe, control, or confront it directly? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more journeys into wildlife control, survival, and life at the edge of the wild.